Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Max's Models After Hours. Didn't get a lot of model building done. I did get started on the ODK XP50. Little story behind that. Now, I've got a whole bunch of goody things to talk about this evening. So, also to try and avoid that bzz, bzz, bzz noise of the autofocus, I think I got the focus set right, turned it off, so hopefully all you'll hear for annoying background noise is the chair squeaking. So, I was thinking about what to do with this. I mean, I could put it in the, the test aircraft markings, very normal, but it's, this is too much of an interesting opportunity. I'm like, okay, like we talked about earlier, let's say it gets adopted and winds up as a secretary airplane, maybe gets hand-me-downed to the Guard or to some other country, and winds up seeing service in Korea. And I thought about, stick, a radar on it, paint it black like the F-82, but nah, too slow for that. It wouldn't work as an interceptor. I was thinking, no, with all the guns in the nose, and it does come with some bombs, and some folks that suggest, rack it out with ordnance, and I think it's a great idea. So I think I'm going to put it in a ground attack role, rake it out with some kind of rockets and bombs and stuff. But I wanted to make it look a little more modern, so I wanted a bubble canopy. Now, you guys may recall a while back, I was gifted that little Starfix Mustang, which apparently was one of the later Starfix kits because it wasn't that horrible. But anyway, when I was done with it, I didn't have any place to put it. And I wound up just, I saw my big 16-inch Polar Lights Godzilla sitting up there with empty hands. Oh, I know it's off scale, but I went ahead and just kind of hung it up there as a gag, put it in his hand. Well, at some point, I don't know if I was moving something around the shelf or what, but it fell off, it hit the floor, one of the prop blades broke off, and I couldn't find it. And I'm like, great, I got a 3-bladed Mustang. So, well, you know what, I'll just pop off all, it's the one thing on that Starfix was horrible is the landing gears, it's all wheels up, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut out a round clear piece, make a spinny prop for it, put it on a stand or something. Well, then when I was working on the XP50, I went, I want to modernize it, and I figured, what, that Starfix canopy off the Mustang might just be about the right size, because the canopy that comes with this is actually pretty good. The framing's all on the inside, so it's smooth on the outside, but it's just enough that you can see it. You can't get away with making a bubble canopy out of it. I mean, you sort of could, but I figured, so I brought the Mustang in here, pirated the canopy off of it, filed it down. It looks like it's gonna, it took quite a bit of filing and shaving, but it looks like I almost vacuum formed the canopy for this, but then I realized that's gonna be a little too big, and I'll go ahead and use the Mustang canopy, and if that doesn't work, then I'll vacuum form this. Well, this left me with the P51 with a 3-blade with 3 propeller blades and no canopy. So I figured, well, you know what? I got an idea. So, what the heck, it kind of looked kind of cool, Godzilla hanging onto it. I know it's literally twice the scale because the Godzilla is 1:144, the Mustang's 1:72, but I'm like, come on, it's a fictitious kaiju. I mean, you can do what you want with it. As Bob Ross would say, it's happy accident, your world. So I modified the P51 to look like this. And now it actually looks kind of cool up there. Well, it does in my world anyway. So back to the XP50. Or I guess I should call it the A50 because this will be in the attack roll, or the F50. The kit looks a little like a V1 in some ways, or does that not have a fuselage shape a little like an ME-262? Anyway, the way the kit comes is the 3-piece wing section. So if you wanted to make a navalized version of this, it wouldn't be hard to make it folding wing if you wanted to do that, which would have been another cool possibility. This kit does have a lot of flash, does not have a lot of alignment pins, and has a few fit issues. Nothing you can't work around. It's not bad, but it's I mean, given when it was made, I think ODK around the 60s and 70s, it's not, there's certainly plenty of worse kits around. I mean, I'm not complaining about them, but it's not Tamiya. But it's such a cool subject matter, and Maybe it looks like that Sanger space plane. That it's kind of a cool shape. Anyway, I'm really starting to like this thing more and more the more I play with it. So I think I'm going to put Korean, and I thought about, because the same Mr. Hamilton that gave me this also gave me an IL-10, which has like North Korean and Russian markings. Like, I could put it in North Korean markings and make something like, oh, the North Koreans have gotten one. Well, maybe we gave some to the Russians, and the Russians gave them to the. But then I realized, no, the Russians never gifted foreign aircraft. To my knowledge, the only gifted ones they make, because showing their prowess and everything. So still was an interesting thought. There's just so many cool things you can do when you decide to have a little fun with a kit and just create your own history. So we'll see what the final product is. Right now, I'm leaning towards Air Force, Korea, ground attack roll. Now, that brings up another point. Colonel K, who you see in the comment section, is my brother. And he's a retired bird colonel from the Air Force. And remember what I said about Army Signal Corps becoming, eventually the Air Service, and then the Air Corps, and then the Army Air Force, and then eventually the Air Force. Now, as is typical anytime you're dealing with government agencies, it's not quite that simple. So I'm just going to read his email to me, because it's, as much as I thought I know about history and stuff, this was kind of involved in, only a bureaucracy could come up with this. Okay, so I'll just read. Contrary to popular belief, the U.S. Army Air Force, the USAAF, did not replace the U.S. Army Air Corps, the USAAC. What happened was, in 1935, the responsibilities of the United States Army Air Corps were split between it and the newly formed General Headquarters Air Force, GHQ. The latter organizations, GHQ, had been created in 1935 to control all Army combat aircraft units in the continental United States. So GHQ handled anything in the continental U.S., while the former focused on all other aspects of Army aviation. So GHQ took care of the domestic continental U.S. stuff, and the United States Army Air Corps did everything apparently that was off our shores. This resulted in unfeasible command and control structure, so the USAF was created to fix the problem by overseeing rather than superseding both organizations. Under the United States Army Air Force organizational structure, the Air Corps was assigned responsibility for training and logistics, while GHQ became Air Force Combat Command. So under the United States Army Air Force, you have Air Corps handling training and logistics, and GHQ handling combat stuff. Responsible for all combat units, the USAF was initially composed mostly of United States Army Air Corps members. So the term remained popular within the United States Army Air Force throughout the war. The Air Corps was not officially disbanded until 1947 with the establishment of the Air Force. So the United States Army Air Corps, at some level in the organizational structure, was all the way around until 47 when we got the actual Air Force. So of course it's got to be confusing, and there's more information than you probably wanted on that, but it's good to know this stuff, I guess. So that might explain why perhaps a training command airplane might have USAAC on it, whereas a combat aircraft might have USAF or something. I'd drive you nuts trying to keep all that straight. That brings up another point, speaking of markings on aircraft. I know I've talked about this a little bit already. When our insignia went from having the red dot in the middle of the star until it went to like the wild. I'll just grab this. We talked about the neutrality markings, the high visibility, and we talked about the early war markings with the red dot and the red and white rudders. So then, of course, by the time Battle of Midway rolls around, we're blotting out, going with a much more subdued paint scheme and blotting out the red dots. Now, as a couple of people noted correctly, that, you know, these orders come down from on high, but it takes time to trickle through the system and then for the actual people on the ground to get the resources necessary to do it. I mean, not everybody's got, you know, spray guns and white paint laying around or gray paint or whatever they'd use to blot out and then recover. And I talked about how the rudders are still bleeding through. These crew chiefs were doing it as best they could. Now, one of the problems I understand, especially with the Devastators, was that these things when the wings are folded, the tip of the wingtip's like 11 feet up in the air. And if you're on a ship, it can be real tricky to get up there. You can't really do this on the deck. The deck's a very busy place. You got to do it down in the maintenance hangar. My understanding is it could be a real nightmare for these guys to find a way to get up there to do it. And so, although at the Battle of Midway, pretty much all the aircraft had the red stars blotted out and had the rudders covered up, there were still a few of them that probably, especially on the underwings of some of the torpedo planes, probably still had the red dots on them. I remember seeing the footage that was taken on the Hornet just not long before the battle, where you actually see the guys at Torpedo 8 all posing by their airplanes, and you see them taxiing around being spotted on the deck and stuff, and all the stars are blotted out. But then one of them goes by and it's got its wings folded and it's still got the red dot on the other side of the wing. So, you know, nothing's 100%. That was just the way it was supposed to be, because you see when this wing is folded, that's pretty far up there. And so I just wanted to touch on that yeah, by the Battle of Midway they had gotten rid of that stuff, but I'm sure there were still planes that had it on there. So going on to another subject about the markings, if you're doing a D-Day model, I know you got Oshkosh and all the planes have these magnificent paint schemes which are usually glossy, which of course is not the way warplanes are marked up, but I've seen a lot of photographs. These guys apparently got the instructions to put the big black and white invasion stripes on the airplanes not long before the battle, because, you know, big secret, right, and security and all that. And they're scrambling looking for black paint, white paint, and apparently, in a lot of cases, they literally just hung like a line of plumb bob and drew a line and just painted through it with I mean, there were guys putting the stuff on with brushes. So the idea of these all perfect, you know, black and white lines and everything, and I'm sure there were some guys who had the tape, the paper, the air guns, whatever they needed to mark it off and make it all pretty, but most of them, or a lot of them, they were just slopped on there, and some of them looked pretty rough, because it was just a field expedient. It was just something to prevent a fratricide so you didn't get shot down by your own side. So it's something to consider if you're modeling like a D-Day C-47, depending on, and I'm sure the bigger the plane, the harder it was. Dig up some photographs. You may want to just brush it on, put it on with a brush, and take the slightly uneven lines maybe. I mean, you know, everything's got to be scaled down. Just a thought. So, now, next order of business. Oh yeah, the wristwatch. All right. Yes, you guys caught me. I made a huge mistake. This is a replica, a Bulova of the Apollo 15 watch. It was carried by Dave Scott. I said John Young. Now John Young also had one in his, but John Young was on Apollo 16. And John Young's is the one that sold for $1.6 million in auction, and unless something else has happened since then, it's still the most expensive piece of astronaut memorabilia ever sold. But it was Dave Scott. And what's really embarrassing about that was I actually met Al Worden, the command module pilot for Apollo 15, and when I was in the movie From the Earth to the Moon playing with the Mokers, Mission Operation Controllers, Dave Scott was there, and he leaned right over me. We weren't allowed to talk to him because since he was a technical advisor, he's like the talent. You don't talk to the talent because they have to rehearse and they have a lot going on, and they don't, you know, you got all these movie stars around, you're not supposed to be bugging them for autographs, or you'll get kicked off any movie set for doing a stunt like that. But they tell you point blank, leave the talent alone. They're busy, they got to do, you're just an extra, you just stand on the spot and you can talk amongst each other or whatever. And and if you're wondering, the people that were on the set that I saw, although the only one I got to talk to, even really just said hi, was Clint Howard. That's Ron Howard's younger brother. And I saw Tim Daly, who you might remember from Madam Secretary, played her husband, or the sitcom Wings. I saw Carrie Elways, The Princess Bride, Stephen Root, who was playing Krantz. I remember him from News Radio, a bunch of other stuff. And his famous role in Office Space. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch some clips from Office Space. Dan Butler, who played Mad Dog on Frasier, and Lane Smith, who you would remember. He played the mayor of the small town in Red Dawn, and he played Perry White in the television Superman with Dean Cain. And he's just one of those people. He was in V. He played the big industrialist in the television series, first a miniseries and then a television series V about the alien invasion. He's been around forever. And there were a few others that I forget offhand, but you don't realize how thin these people are, because we're used to seeing them on television. TV really does add 20 pounds to you. Like, I need that. So anyway, don't feel bad about calling me out on this stuff. I tell you to. When I make a mistake like that, I don't want to be the disinformation guy. You know, by all means, so you're like, I don't mean to, correct you, but correct me, okay? I have got no heartburn with that. When I be wrong, I be wrong. And you won't be getting right if people don't straighten you up. But that was particularly embarrassing for me, because I know my astronaut stuff, just the caffeine hadn't kicked in, man. I didn't have it. Maybe I should do the second cup of coffee in the morning when I'm more half awake. But then I'm more fun when I'm still droopy, right? Right. Okay, so, man. Okay, I want to get back to work on the launch umbilical tower. The flat, the mailing flat, the envelope that this all came in, and it says Apollo, Saturn launch umbilical tower in big letters on it, 1 to 144 scale, A. Meyer, blah, blah. And it has a piece of cardboard in it. And our cat, we bought her this nice expensive cat bed, but she prefers, we just lay that thing on the bed. She prefers to get on the big envelope with the piece of cardboard, and I guess she likes having something a little more solid under her, and she likes to sit up. Well, she's sitting on it. My wife looks at me and goes, "Why are you building a model of a slut?" And I went, "What?" And the way the cat was sitting on it, all she saw was the first letter of Apollo Saturn launch umbilical tower. And I'm like, building a slut. Well, guess what just got a new name? So what you doing out in the shadow? Just playing with my slut. So the Apollo watch, Apollo slut, and the USAF story, and talking about that. So that's that. There's one thing I meant to mention, and I don't know why. This ODK kit has raised panel lines, but they're not bad. But you have raised panel lines on the top of the wing, but the bottom of the wing is completely smooth. No aileron, no details of any kind. Go figure. That's that. And of course, if you haven't seen it, I was able to drop the Squadron Shop video today. Not very many images, mostly just narration. I did find a few images, and I've been waiting for an excuse to use that Horrible Histories music. And of course, I gotta put a link to the video out there, the real video. Of course, that was a riot. I've been licking my chops looking for a chance to use that, and this was the perfect opportunity. So, what else do we have on the agenda? How'd you like the new intro for this? You guys may have noticed I got a whole bunch of different intros and outros, different music, and I guess it's part of the creative thing. I just sometimes I enjoy making the intros just because you just enjoy putting new puzzles together, that kind of thing. And I'll keep doing it till I can, and I'm probably doing more and more stuff now because I know I only got about a week of this left before the real world hits me right between the eyes like an oncoming freight train. But hey, you know what? Back to being a productive citizen. A productive model building, jet flying citizen of this great republic. That's right. Well, okay, guys, I guess that's enough rambling for one evening. I'll let you go, and you guys have a great evening, and let's get together for coffee in the morning, all right? All right.